I've had a few people ask for a walkthrough on my Star-Lord chill build for Marvel Future Revolution. So let's log in and take a look. I'll show you what's happening behind the curtain here with Drizz, one of a very short list of chill build Star-Lords in Marvel Future Revolution. We're basically like unicorns on the platform. But I'll start out showing you my basic hero overview, my stats summary. And this, I use the number 3 presets for my PvP loadouts. All my badges here are kind of tailored to the stats that my gear does not provide naturally. On my helm, you can see I got a double stack for crit rate, double stack for attack, defense, pierce. On my chest, got double stack guard damage, crit rate, accuracy rate, crit damage. And on my blaster, crit damage decrease, dodge rate, defense. And on my boots, which I'm very happy with, double stamina recovery, double cooldown decrease. Only thing I would change here, I would prefer to take another stack of HP rather than ultimate gauge. Star-Lord's not really a character that you can build around his ult. It is a longer cycling cooldown, and he's got, I mean, you could do it, but there are much more viable builds than working around his ult. So let's take a look at the more in-depth stats. I'll show you what I've focused on. And this is in total, so this is with my mecha cards, my gear, my badge, loadout for PvP, attacks at 30k, pretty solid, defense 20k, HP 149k, and then there's that basically a waste of a space stat, HP recovery. It's nice if you want to heal a bunch from crystals that you can pick up in Omega War. It helps you survive a little bit longer if you're playing in the center. Other than that, I don't really focus on it. I don't know too many people who do. Stamina recovery, this is a big one. The worst thing that you can experience in the middle of a PvP match is to get stam locked, not be able to use any of your abilities to escape or do damage to clear the area. Accuracy rate, this is a deficiency in my character. I dropped my number 13 accuracy Omega card recently to pick up a little bit more defense, pierce, and crit damage, but 130, it's not terrible. And I run a specialization with Star-Lord where when I'm over 50% HP, I get an additional 25% of that stat. And it's why I've focused a little bit more on defense and HP. And I run an Ultron companion as an active skill, which gives me an additional shield worth roughly, it's like 35% of my total HP for 10 seconds. Decent cooldown, so this is a lifesaver for me personally, so that I can keep my accuracy bonus up for as long as possible in Dimension Duel rounds and Omega Wars. And let's take a look at the Omega cards real quick. You know, you kind of can boil down Omega cards based on, you know, what their core stat is. So right now I'm running an attack and crit on the number 11 set, which gives me an additional 1.55 attack bonus. That supervillain damage decrease is the only thing I hate about that Black Widow card. Other than that, she's wonderful. And then the number 6 Midgardia set, honestly, probably my favorite and my go-to for both PvP, and only recently have I dropped it for PvE, and I'll kind of show you why. Mainly going to focus on PvP for now. That's where all the clout is. So this one, rank tier 4, grade 4, pretty solid card. Decrease max damage, attack, and then because I have the Vote Loki card, get an additional crit damage bonus there. This double PvP increase, crit damage, and then the set bonus, 8.7%. And then my Storm, hate that it's a grade 1, but it's got everything I need as far as filling out my PvP stats. Decrease, increase, crit damage decrease. That's pretty important up to a certain point. I think the threshold a lot of players stop focusing on is around 80%. I think I'm around like 78, maybe 82. And then this one's a big one, cooldown. I mean, cooldown's really your catch-all stat. It's really what you're working toward at the end of the day with your character to be able to cycle through more skills if you got the stamina recovery to support it. This one's solid, got double increase and then crit damage decrease on that as well. So go back to my main stats, go to the total. Crit damage sitting just under 200%, crit rate 73%, that caps at 75, so it's decent. It could be a lot better. I'd love to see that maxed. I just don't have a way to do that while keeping my PvP increase and decrease close to maxed. My PvP, well, my critical damage decrease, 78%. That's a pretty solid number. Defense Pierce, I dropped this for the cooldown card. It was at 74.5. The cap is 75%. Defense Pierce is it's really a must in PvP. You need to be able to negate their level of defense and total stat there so that you can improve how much damage you're doing and what your DPS is. So depending on what their total PvP damage decrease is, if that's capped, and if they have a significant amount of crit damage decrease, I think that goes up to 100%. I mean, technically, you don't start being viable with your crit damage till you're, over that 200 threshold. As far as covering your bases with all the potential characters that you come across in PvP. So that's an area for me to improve and work on. Max damage rate. I mean, really, it's not a stat that you'd focus on out the gate. It's really just one that I've happened to land upon a lot with my Omega card rolls. And then cooldown decrease, this caps at 50%, so 42.3. It's a pretty decent number there. And I have the stamina recovery to support that for most PvP modes. Dimension duel rounds really don't last very long. Omega War, you can kind of dip in and out, but those two stats alone keep me in the mix and dealing more damage probably than if everything else is guaranteed. Your PvP increase and decrease is maxed and you got decent crit damage. The next thing that you'd want to focus on would be stam recovery and cooldown, aside from defense pierce. And guard damage, so because of that double stack on my chest, this is pretty high, but it actually, it's very helpful for me in Dimension Duel. My status effect accuracy, it got dropped in the last balance for Star-Lord. This was at like 138, plus the additional 25% with that specialization. When I'm over, I think it's over here on the right, yeah. Increased status effect accuracy rate by 25% and accuracy by 25% when you're over 50% HP. So before the balance, I was sitting pretty well with status effect accuracy. I would freeze my opponents pretty much every single Dimension Duel match. Now, that is definitely not the case. It really depends on what their resistance is like, and most people have around 15 to 20%. Some more if they've focused on that on their what would be my blaster gear piece. I've got the double defense, double dodge, and a crit decrease. If you had status effect resistance there, you could have a pretty solid number there for resistance, and that's pretty helpful actually when you're coming across Spider-Man and Omega War. That it'll keep you from getting cocooned every 5 seconds, which is if you've played any Omega War, it's the bane of your existence. Crit damage decrease, or guard damage decrease, 17.1. It's pretty low as well. And then here at the very bottom, these are companion bonuses. So I focus on which companions I'm running in my active set for PvP. I have companions that I run for PvE versus PvP to kind of tailor my stats where they need to be. I get additional guard break bonus from Scrag and Stam recovery from Donna Ports, and then Icarus got him to 5-star. So as of right now, I have a PvP increase bonus from him. Once I get him to 6-star, I'll get that PvP decrease as well. Then I can rework my Omega cards to focus on stats that I need instead of worrying about maxing my PvP up and down. And then the other ones, some of the special companions offer like range damage increase and decrease. Some offer melee. Star-Lord is not a melee character, so I do not run companions that provide a bonus there. But if you were an Iron Man or a Captain America, you would you'd most definitely run that. Or if you're playing Magic and you're focusing on Soul Sword skills, that would be one you would want to focus on, upgrading those companions and equipping them for that bonus stat for melee damage there. Okay, and I'll give you a quick peek at the rest of my companions as well, since that's important as far as loadouts go. So my Ultron, again, because of the specialization I run for accuracy and status effect accuracy, he's really key for me. He allows me to stay alive longer in Dimension Duel rounds and Omega War when you're trying to protect the points that you've accrued from crystals or kills. I don't have his skill capped yet. It's at 16 of 20. So again, every 34 seconds for a 10-second interval, I get 35% of my max HP. And I have up until this morning actually been running about 158k HP when about 21k defense, but I just switched that up so that I could do a little bit more damage in Dimension Duel rounds, because those go so fast and you need to be able to hit pretty hard out the gate in order to win those rounds. But I'll go ahead and queue up a Dimension Duel round real quick, show you everything in action. That was pretty quick. It's usually not a good sign. All right, not terrible. I'll show you the new debuff Star-Lord got here, which is honestly phenomenal. It's probably the best addition they made in the balance they did recently. Show you the reach on the cannon here. It really can cover some decent distance there. It's a little unfair, honestly, but this strange hits pretty hard. Alright, so that is the chill build in action. That match did not last long enough to apply a freeze effect on the enemy. Your tankier players, who are at endgame, got everything maxed, those matches will go a little bit longer most times, and that's really when you'll see status effects shine with the chill build. Flame is great, very popular for Star-Lord builds. C Wild has basically kind of written the book on the perfect flame build for Star-Lord, and I'm over here just slowly but surely ironing out with the potential for chill. But status effect accuracy is big for chill players because freeze is kind of equivalent to Spider-Man's cocoon. Totally immobilizes your enemy, leaves them vulnerable to big attacks and strategic gameplay. But you got to have the status effect accuracy to support that. And that is, I don't have a raw stat on my gear for it, so I'm a little bit lacking there since the recent balance. They changed Star-Lord's potential tiers and stat bonuses, so it's something I'm gonna have to pick up by reworking my gear a little bit. But if you've been playing for a decent amount of time, then you know that's it's a laborious effort to get enough convergium and get a piece of gear ranked up enough to re-roll, or to just re-roll another piece up to 6 stars and then merge your other full nanode piece into that one. But obviously, still a lot to explore and learn in the game. But I'll show you my PvE setup right now. This is honestly, it's probably the thing I should be most proud of. I've got, I mean, these aren't like grade 7 cards, but they're all really solid. 4s, 5s, a 6, and the one that doesn't matter a ton, just the raw supervillain damage increase, that's my only 2. But everything else that's giving me a buff for attack, crit, and this attack card especially, this PvP damage increase is the only flaw in my PvE set. If I had an additional supervillain damage stack there, I would be happy as clam. But Omega cards are very finicky, as you probably know by now, and it takes quite a bit to get them exactly where you want them. And this is honestly a card, the raw attack bonus, it's so substantial. I'm probably not going to touch this card for a long time. But the thing that I recently reworked that has made a huge difference, Star-Lord, similar to Storm, receives elemental damage bonus, and one of his exclusives is specific to chill, shock, and flame damage. And on each of these cards, if you look at the exclusive stat, I have a chill damage increase. I think it totaled up to about 75 point something % increased chill damage. So when I'm running PvE, my active companion, I just started getting Thena ranked up as far as her skill, which is nice to have a raw attack increase. But until that's perfected, Donna Ports is really the way to go for Storms and Star-Lords, and I'll explain why. Type damage refers to elemental damage increases. So all damage type, that would include shock, flame, chill for Star-Lord and Storm. Donna Ports, her bonus effect, the stamina recovery, an additional 7% almost, like that's solid in and of itself. A reason for most people to equip her, and maybe not in the primary active skill slot, but in a companion slot where you're still going to get that bonus effect stat increase. She's got a lot of appeal in that regard. But when you're playing a Star-Lord or Storm, and you've ranked up this Nova Force skill for Donna Ports, all damage type by 24.75%, that applies to the total 74.5 chill damage increase from my skills that I've got on Star-Lord, which really just means it exponentially increases your damage. On top of that, I run maxed tolerance decrease specialization, which gives me an additional 15% to all type damage. And then on top of that, this one is not ranked 10 yet. Yes, it does ping me every day I look at it. But this increases your skill damage within 6 seconds after dodging, currently by almost 30%, which that's huge. That's a huge number. And then combined with increased damage dealt to targets under 15% by 25%. Really, when someone is at 3.5 bars or Prime is at 3.5 bars, that's really when my character goes crazy. If I stack, when they're at that 50% threshold, if I activate Donna Ports to get that 25% type damage increase, and I dodge and use my cannon, I'll often crit for 6-7 million damage, and it's pretty hard for a lot of characters who have even better raw stats than my Star-Lord does to keep pace with me in Dark Zone and Omega War, just from this combination of stats alone. So exponentiating your damage with his specializations and your companions has been huge for my Star-Lord. It's probably the key to the success that I've had in PvE and PvP modes. Again, you know, my PvP, it's definitely the area I need to work on most at the moment. I'd really love to be able to drop the accuracy and status effect accuracy bonus specialization, because I'd like to use the rapid fire spray, which decreases skill cooldown by an additional 50% once it's maxed, which is that's huge to be able to use your big hitting abilities more frequently, tighter intervals, and you got the stamina recovery to support it, which I do. That's a big one, and I'd love to be able to replace my stable breath with the rapid fire spray one day. I'll get there, but you know, that's kind of the basics. I really haven't had a ton of time to put together a full walkthrough and kind of show you the way that I go about testing stat changes for PvP. It's all kind of nudging something here and something there, day in, day out. But overall, I've just had a ton of fun playing Star-Lord as a main. I've been pretty die-hard. I've not ever been tempted to switch characters, and I probably never will. You know, I've worked on alts, but usually just in a support sense. You know, I just set up Doctor Strange with a full Sakaar for that cooldown bonus that he can provide, and team events, special events and invasion runs, things like that. And just set up my Captain America in an assistance class regional set as well. I think it was, I can't remember if it was Xanderth or not, but basically that's kind of the short and sweet of it. Big fan of this character in general. Star-Lord is a lot of fun to play. He's agile. He's got a lot of strategy capability as far as the way that you build his loadouts, use his specializations. To me, that's been the most fun. I mean, every character has that ability, but I definitely feel like he's been the most rewarding to build out and explore his full potential with, and especially with Chill, because there's just, I really haven't had any think tanks to bounce ideas off of when it comes to, you know, maximizing your potential with a Chill loadout. It's really just been me, myself, and I kind of slowly working through trial and error, mostly error. But overall, a lot of fun. You know, this is where my stats are currently, and you know, you can build a pretty successful Chill Star-Lord if you parallel some of the decisions I've made, and hopefully, you know, the input on things that I'd like to change would help you to avoid some of the areas where I've been a little curtailed in my character's growth. But yeah, I'll be posting more content regularly. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm happy to share any developments in the character's progress. I think, you know, rising tides raise all boats, as they say, and happy to help any other Star-Lord mains or characters that want to level him as an alt out if you need input or advice on anything. Thanks for tuning in, guys.